So, my brother and I are getting ready for school one morning, and my parents come into the room looking very serious. They tell us to sit down. They need to tell us about something that happened at school. And I look at my brother like, "What did you do?" And he looks at me like, "I don't know." And my dad starts. He says, "There was a fire at school last night. It started in the office. Nobody was hurt, but there was a lot of damage, and school is closed, and we don't know for how long." And my brother and I look at each other, and in our minds, we're so excited. We're running through fields of wheat. We're wearing white linen. There's violins playing in the background. We're in El Paso, Texas. My family's from Mexico. We've never seen white linen. We've never seen wheat fields, but that's how excited we are. But we're well behaved, and so we turn to our parents and we say, "Oh, that's terrible." And my mom says, "Yeah, we're not sure, but the school might be closed all year." And she broke us. My brother let out a little squeal of joy. And then they looked at each other and they smiled. And they turned to us and they said, "April Fools, go to school." Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was there too. And my parents are divorced. And we had a happy childhood, but there was some tension between them along the way. When I came home one time from college, everything had calmed down a little bit, and I thought maybe they fought to a draw, and they were just gonna ride it out. But actually, they had already decided to get divorced, they just hadn't decided on when was the right time to let us all know. That's how committed to family they are. And that morning, when they looked at each other, they were two souls entwined with the common purpose of laughing at their children. My mom was rolling around on the ground, her little legs kicking up in the air. And I just watched, and I studied, because I knew I was in the presence of masters. And I knew that April Fools is a dish best served cold. Now, every family has their favorite holiday: Christmas, Thanksgiving, maybe Easter. But for us, it's April Fools. And most people don't like April Fools because it's all about pranks. And pranks can be mean and emotionally manipulative. But in our family, it's the tie that binds. Let's take a little walk down memory road. The year that I was getting married, I told my soon-to-be in-laws, my mom and I, that the wedding was canceled. It nearly killed my father-in-law. Literally, he has a heart condition. During the pandemic, my mom called me crying. She said she had fallen off a ladder and she needed someone to send someone over for help because she was all by herself. And I laughed in her face. But my brother, my dear sweet brother Adrian, he's all heart. He took pity on his mother. And as his reward, she laughed in his face. So the following year, it just so happened that my mom was in town to visit. And so we came up with a plan. We were gonna call my brother while she was listening in. And I told him that Mom fell and she was having urgent surgery. It wasn't an emergency and it wasn't dangerous, but I just wanted him to know, and I would call him once she was out of the operating room. And he said, "No, Mom's getting older. This is really important." He lives in Dallas. "I'm gonna be on the next flight over." And then he hung up the phone. And so I started to convince my mom that he must have known it was an April Fool's prank, and he was just pranking us back. The hook had been set. And then he texted a flight plan. And then his phone went dead. And I knew that we almost had it, but if you're gonna aim at the queen, you can't miss. So I had enlisted his new wife to call and say that she had just dropped him off at the airport, and she wanted us to know that he got on the plane, but his phone was dead. And so for the next 3 hours, my mom slowly had the dawning realization that her son was on a plane to come see her, and she was entirely fine. And I didn't let my wife and kids in on the joke so that they could continually ratchet up the anxiety. She was drinking by lunch. And then she got the call from my brother to laugh in her face. So I just want to take the moment to publicly apologize to Sarah, Javier, and Francis. You were collateral damage for a greater cause. But this was not my revenge. This was my masterpiece. I had planned the whole thing, the classic double cross. But let's return for a minute to childhood. So I grew up in the desert Southwest. And when you are from the desert, eventually people ask you about rattlesnakes. And so here's the thing you need to know about rattlesnakes. The most dangerous rattlesnake is a baby rattlesnake because it doesn't have restraint. It lets out all of its venom when it strikes. And so when I was thinking about how I'd get my mom back, I thought she needs to think that I'm dead. I know, that's wrong. That's wrong. She needs to think that she killed me. I'm a baby rattlesnake, okay? I know that now. And so I came up with a plan, and I hid in the bushes in the morning. And then she got up to get ready for work. She got in her car, and she was fussing around. And then I ran out of the bushes, and I laid down in the driveway, the foot of the driveway, with my head so that I could see her in the rearview mirror. You know, because the plan was that she would back up and then she would think in her mind that she could have killed me. Well, you can guess what happened next. I was killed. She ran me right over. No, what happened was she started to back up a few feet and then the car screamed to a stop. And I know this isn't true, but it felt true, that the door was just torn off like the Hulk had opened it. And she came out screaming. Have you ever had a moment of clarity? Well, I did. I laid down on that pavement a boy, but I stood up a man. And so when I saw what I had done to the most beautifulest woman on earth, I did what any man in this room would do. I ran away. Literally. But now I'm a father with children of my own. And every morning when I get up to go to work, I kiss them on their foreheads, I tell them I love them, and I chain them to the radiator so I can back up and drive to work. Because I know that she's out there planning her revenge, and that April Fool's is a dish best served cold. Thank you. My mom's here tonight. Thank you. Love you, Mom.